Retiring in the San Miguel's, Episode 10, The Honest Politician. So on Saturday, at 2 o'clock, the old owner came and she brought along electrician and a roofer, and neither of them spoke English, and we were trying to get through that. And then the presidente of the Fracasilla Riberina, who I thought was like the mayor, he came over, and we were all having these conversations, half American, half Portuguese, about all these different things, and it was great and it was horrible. So I mean, I couldn't deal with all the different conversations that, we were trying to fix that leak in the roof, and in the middle when we were discussing what we wanted to do, because we saw that there's these spouts coming off the ceiling going onto the roof, and that maybe we thought we could put a pipe across the roof so that the water would leak down and not hit the little exhaust area and pour water down into the stove. Well, in the middle of that conversation, the who I thought was mayor says, who spoke excellent English, and he says, "Oh, let me help you." And he talked with him and said, "Oh, you don't want to put a pipe across the roof. You want to put it off the roof on the side, so even if it did leak, it's not pouring extra water on that side roof." And that made all the sense in the world. And I said, "Oh yeah, that's great." And then I said, "Well, the roof here has all these spots, and I think that there's leaks in the roof, and we need to repair the roof as well." And I asked, was there like a underlay between the tiles and the roof wooden slats? And he asked, and they said no. He said, "Oh, you should get it so you have like a waterproof cladding." And I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what I want." And I said, and he said, let me talk to the contractor." So he pulls out his phone with his calculator. Him and the roofer go away from me and discuss it. And I'm going, "Oh no, I'm gonna get screwed in this thing." And a few minutes later, he comes back. It shows me his his phone with the calculations is like 950. Oh, 950 just to do the repair? It's like, no, for all of it. It's like, yeah, I'll take it. It's like, except that, if when they take the tiles out and there's some damage to the wood, that doesn't include the repair for that. And I said, well, that would be good, but I need to have the repair done before I leave in a few days. It's very important that I don't leave the house where there's this big leak that every time it rained, and it rained every day the last few days. So every morning I was sort of mopping that area of the water, and I would hate to have 3 months where that's just pulling down onto ruining my kitchen. So he said, "Yeah, well, we could have it done. He'll come back in 2 days and we'll do it." And then, so I talked with this guy. I mean, he was telling me all the things I wanted to know. And I said, "Well, tell me about, my biggest concern is the electrical. It's very old, but I'm also worried about the rising damp in the basement." He says, "Oh, the solution to that is air conditioning." Before, no Azorean would say you need air conditioning. They all say you don't need air conditioning. Stop being like a wasteful American and AC everything. It doesn't get hot or cold here. So he says, and I said, "Well, what do you mean?" Because, and he said, "Why don't we go to my office, which is just across the street, and I will show you." So we walked across the, it was like across from the church. So I'm behind the church, and it's just a few buildings over. And he showed me how he had bought this space, and he put AC on it to dry it out, and it was a gorgeous place. And I was going, well, yeah, that makes sense. And he said, I'll call an AC guy who will come and look at it and figure out what AC setup you should use. I said, oh, that's great. I would love that. So now I'm looking at, wow, this guy's like, he's a politician. Can I believe what he's saying? Because, I guess I've not been all that confident of government officials. And, everybody, so it's like, and he says, you know what? I work for a big contracting company. I've been doing this kind of work for 25 years, but your project's too small. We do like hotels or 20 homes at a time. We would not touch a project like this. But for you, my friend, I would do it for free. And I'm going, oh no, it's like I feel, and I said, you're a politician. Why are you saying this? I mean, I'm happy to pay you. I need a contractor. I'm happy to pay a contractor to do this. He says, no, it's like, I said, why would you do that? He says, well, my father was an alcoholic, and his father was an alcoholic, and his father was alcoholic, and my family has this horrible reputation, and I want to fix that. He said, well, okay. And, it's like I didn't have a better option, so I said, I don't know, I will see. And he says, no, you know what? Come to dinner at my place in 2 days, and we'll talk about it. And I say, okay. So the next 2 days, I'm going around looking for all the home improvement stores, where to buy food, just learning the lay of the land, that's weird. Like here in Florida, I know where to get everything and what stores to shop and where to get the best deals. And there I'm clueless, a total foreigner in a foreign place. And it just makes you feel like you're very vulnerable and things are, hard. And, so I end up going to his house, and I get there and his wife is there who doesn't really speak English. And I've said, I'm here for dinner. And she says, wrong day, tomorrow. And I'm going, oops, I'm sorry. And she feels so bad. I go walking, and Marco, the mayor guy, he calls me up and says, hey, I'm at City Hall. Usually Tuesday nights I work, because I work in the daytime. I have this 1 day a week that I have open hours, and all the people that have the problems in our little town, they come and I try to solve them. But today's a little slow, so if you can wait, come down to City Hall in about a half an hour, and we'll go to dinner. And so I did, and he drove me across the island, which only takes like 20 minutes, and we went to this great seafood restaurant, because I told him, oh well, I'm a pescatarian, I don't eat meat, but I do eat fish. So we went to this great place and we talked, and I asked him about the problem of well, my lawyer said when he was there and it was raining that all this cow shit went down the river and is smelling up the whole place. Even though he said the smell didn't get to your place. I said, what's with that? He said, oh, well, there was this one farmer whose son uh, lives in Texas, and went to Texas A&I, and he learned how Americans do cow farming, and so his father started buying up all the random cows because the farmers that were getting smaller and older sometimes didn't want to take care of the cows because it took a lot of effort, and he'd buy them cheap. And so he accumulated 4 times as many cows as normal, but then he got accumulation of cow manure. And he didn't want to pay to have it trucked away. So he thought, oh, it's raining a lot. I'm just going to shove it down the river. Except it only goes halfway down the river and then it stops. So Marco, being the presidente of the Fracassia, got that problem, and he went to look, and they figured out where it came from, and they called the environmental services, and they came over there, and they fined him like 3,000 euros and promised not to do it again. But of course, 2 weeks later he did again, and they caught him, and now he said, oh, let me see if I can figure something out for you, because this isn't going to work. So he got some deal with like the fire department to go there every month and clean it up for only 500 euros, and he solved the problem. And it seemed like, this was like how, I guess, small town mayors used to work, 50 years ago. It's like a time warp. It's like, and everything he said was coming, was making a lot of sense. That it didn't seem like he was just trying to, blindside me or anything. And then the last thing I heard is like, where there was sort of like the 2 bars that were on the main road, and they were like at night having sort of the wrong crowd of sort of drug users there. And he says, oh, I know about that. And so the old city hall used to be just like across from your house, but then we needed a bigger place, and then I decided I would get this space that's right between these 2 bars so I can control that situation. And he and all the other politicians said, no, don't do that. And he said, no, I'm going to do this because this is the right thing to do. And this is how to solve that problem. And since that time they've were able to do some drug busts, like 5 of them, and he's cleaning up that situation. He's doing everything right in my book. So I just said, I'm going to trust this guy. And it's like, well, how do I repay you? You're being nice to me. And he says, well, what our town needs is more investment. I want more people to come in and rebuild this small little town, So I said, well, I'm going to bring in, people here, and we're going to try to buy locally and, help this town. And I told him about my, longevity thing. And he said, oh, funny you should mention that. Like, I was on a TV interview with this lady in our town who's 107 years old. She is the oldest person on this island. And she said, when we asked her, what's the secret of your longevity? And she said, my secret is not having a husband. That's how I'm able to stay this young at this age. So he said, I'm going to set up an interview with her when you get here, or when your group gets here, and we're going to connect, the Portuguese old people with your senior retired people, and maybe you could develop friendships, and they can teach you Portuguese, and you can explore our culture. And that was exactly what I wanted, a way to connect with the local community, and not be just, rich expats in their little enclave. That I want to be part of this town and not be, isolated. So, everything was coming together. And then I learned that there's this tile place that I went to visit, like the day I was leaving, and they do hand-painted tiles, which I wanted to have our mermaid logo put on tiles that we could put on around the building. But then, he got me thinking, and he said, it's like, oh, we do all these plates and things. And I said, oh, yes. So I should actually have all my dishes and plates and cups and mugs hand painted with our logo. We give back to the community business, and then have a unique setting that is exclusively for us. That I want certain pieces like handcrafted that are the essence of our local community. And that's how I would like to do things, that be more intentional in what we buy and how we buy it and how it affects those around us. So before being in America and in business, it's like, oh, just do business where it's cheapest, whether or not it helps locally or not. So here I wanted to do right, learn something in my old age, and I'm inviting you to be part of this idea that I have of building this rich, intentional community for seniors that want to grow old in a nice, fulfilling setting. So I did get the part one of the roof repaired, so that it was no longer leaking, but I didn't get all the tiles replaced yet. He was supposed to come the next day, but it looked like it was going to rain, so he pawned off. Marco did recommend, actually Laura recommended I get the locks changed so that maybe the crazy guy doesn't come back, which Marco said he threatened him. He didn't want to see him in his town anymore, so he shouldn't come. But we did get all the locks changed, and we also got a security system put in. So all the things did get settled. And then I did go to Marco's house the next day and had dinner with him and his family. He had 3 kids, and I happened to have 3 little pirate things that I gave to all the kids, and they loved it. And that we had a good time. We bonded. I didn't feel so alone anymore, and that I felt that I had someone that had my back a little bit, or that's what I hope. And I felt better leaving than I did coming, and that you never know about your destination until you get there, and a lot of your fears of the unknown are unfounded. That things usually work out if you are patient and you work at it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Retiring in San Miguel, and I invite you to come to my website. I have just finally put it up. It is soloseniorcoliving.com, and I have a picture of what the pink villa will look like when it's golden yellow. So visit my website, give me feedback about what you think of it, and ask me some questions about what I have planned.